And this is where we talked about, had a little bit of a hiccup here, a little bit of a slip, foot was out, catches himself, puts it back up. We're winding towards the end of the race here, just over 10 laps remaining. And Burkhart is on the push. He is making the move, trying to catch up to Jeff Ward.
Interval last time across the line was just at 6 seconds, 5.9. And, well, he's nibbled 0.2 of a second off of that on that last lap.
And Doug Henry with the big pit mistake. I mean, what a fiasco for him pulling into the pits at the wrong time when the board that was counting down to the open pit came out. He went in, had to pit twice now, and as Jamie reported, he is carrying extra fuel on board. It is mandatory to dump X amount of fuel when you come into your pit, so he had already dumped enough to go all the way, but he had to dump that amount again.
And if you're wondering what happened to Jeremy McGrath, remember he had the problem with the fuel and slowed down on the course. We're looking for an update on him. In the meantime, let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, guys, for an update on what happened, the miscommunication in Team Yamaha. This is where the mechanics are standing with the pit board. They're giving them the 3 sign for 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go, and so on. What happened is the team radioed to the mechanic and said, put the sign out. Well, he thought that meant put the sign out to bring him on in. He held this out, 19. That means Doug Henry come in and threw off the program. Doug came in 3 laps early, and that cost him the race, guys.
Well, Cameron, just as you predicted, I mean, because this is such a unique event and so different, doesn't have the stops, it does make for those kind of errors.
Well, as Jamie said, it's cost him the position, but it has not yet cost him the race because anything can happen. And I will say, I just saw something very interesting on that transfer from the asphalt up onto the concrete. It looks like a chunk of the asphalt where you go up onto the curb is being ripped out there, which might become a factor. If that curb starts to show up, that will be sharp and can throw riders around.
And there is Jeremy McGrath, so whatever it was, it is now fixed, but he's down in 10th. Tess, do you have any idea what happened there?
Well, Paul, Jeremy is using a very tech dry brake system, and what happened is, as the bottle went into the dry brake, it pushes this thing down, and it lets the fuel go in. The unfortunate problem for Jeremy is when the bottle came out, this brake stuck open. Jeremy had to mess with it to get it closed so the fuel wouldn't spill out. Cost him valuable seconds on the racetrack. Paul?
Yeah, that in something like this sprint, there's nothing left to do.
And I can tell you from experience, because I have been dumb enough not to put my fuel cap back on in the past, that it's not a good time to have fuel all over your lap, running over the motorcycle, and possibly coming up into your eyes, the vapors. I mean, so many things going on there, especially sweat, working hard. Very tough break for Jeremy McGrath. We'll see how he can come back.
And just a few moments ago, Steve Drew had his problems. This was coming up toward the finish line.
Oh, it looks like he neutral shifted in the whoops and pulled the ripcord. Eject, eject, eject. He jumps over the handlebars and lands up on the tabletop. And just seconds ago, Drew having more problems. Look at this, having to jump over the bars and woo, doesn't get tackled by the bike. The question I have to ask here, is he getting tired and making mistakes, shifting the motorcycle possibly to neutral? Or does he have a problem with the bike?
And just before he crashed the second time, look at him checking out the bike.
And it looks like maybe a bit of a warble there, maybe a bent wheel, not really sure, but Steve Drew not having the day he looked for coming in here. Remember, he has been as high as 4th place at Supermoto.
Back at the front, it is Ward. But he has sensed the presence of Burkhart and picked up some time on Burkhart now. The interval is now 6.7 seconds from first to second. In the meantime, we take a look at the Schick Sky Track. What a great view as they come down that straightaway.
Well, Burkhart is getting a look at him at the end of these straightaways. This is the highest speed straightaway, the longest one on the track, getting up in the 100-mile-an-hour range. Now, Burkhart knows that Jeff is not that far ahead, but that he has to push almost 7 seconds. So Wardy has been opening it up, as you said, Paul.
And everything is focusing down on the lead. They are all looking at Jeff Ward. Can he get it done? The incredibly popular driver is out in front. X Games 12 will return after this message and a word from our ABC station. We welcome you back. The leader is Jeff Ward. There he is. But let me assure you, Burkhardt, Henry, Fillmore, Reed, they're all closing down on the leader as we enter the fatigue zone. 27 laps are complete. 35 is the distance. Jeff Ward is 45 years old. He, along with all the young ones, are getting tired.
Now Burkhardt is closing the gap. We'll see what it is when he gets around, but this time comes around the finish line. That's where the scoring is. Last time just over 5 seconds back. The one thing Burkhardt has to be careful of, not to use up his tires on the asphalt. If he burns up the tires trying to push too hard, it could become a problem where it gets really greasy there at the end.
And that's a good point, because you have seen all of them really using up the rear, especially in the tighter section. Burkhardt closes now to within 4.5 seconds.
Ooh, we got a shootout here. 7 laps to go, 4.5 seconds.
When you said earlier, Burkhardt now can see him on the straight, so he knows where his target is. He can also look over when they get into the stadium.
Well, it was only on the longest straight, but now on the shorter straights, he's starting to see him as well. So now Jeff Ward may just be backing out just a little bit, trying to keep it safe and conservative. He knows that not only does Burkhardt have to catch him, but he has to pass him.
Yep. Henry, by the way, has been closing in as well from third, but that's remained stationary at about a 17-second interval from the leader the last 2 laps.
And Henry, our gold medalist from last year, we know obviously has the skills. We've been seeing great things from him. A little slip up, remember, those of you that may just be joining us, he pulled into the pits at the wrong time and had to pit 2 times in this mandatory pit stop setup.
It's called supermoto. It's special and unique to X in this form. Involves every discipline that there is. On the dirt, on the asphalt, on the concrete. Back in the field, 10th place. There is Travis Pastrana. He had the whole shot right on the start, came off the gate faster than anybody, and then right away laid the bike down. Set off a chain reaction accident. He's back sitting in 10th now, and ahead of him on the course is Jeremy McGrath, who with all of his troubles has fallen to 9th.
Well, Jeremy McGrath looking, oh, look at the cut down on the times, and there's Jeremy McGrath. He doesn't want to end it like this, but he will be back racing here October 6th and 7th in his own invitational Supercross, which should be pretty fun, but I know he was very focused on this, worked very hard. He's been training for both his race and this race, and I think he's going to be disappointed the way this ends up.
At the front, Burkhardt continues to nibble away at Jeff Ward. It was 3.7 seconds last time across the line. There is Ward, and you saw Burkhardt come off the corner.
Wow, look at that. Wardy stepping way out, but cutting the inside on that corner. Maybe looking at a little bit of a different line, and they have a rider in between them. There's a lapped rider in front of Burkhardt. So very important right now for Burkhardt to get directly by. Hopefully this lapper knows. It looks like he's looking back. He gives way. We have a race, and Burkhardt even saluting on the way by.
At those speeds, thank you very much for the recognition. He gives the wave over to Mickey Diamond, and now he is in direct pursuit of the leader.
And one thing I will say, that hole that was developing where they're coming into the stadium or up onto the curbing, Wardy's going to the outside of it. Burkhardt is running straight through it, which is a little bit of a shorter line. I don't know about the timing there, but we'll find out. Maybe we'll get a look at it around on this lap.
So you've got a couple of factors going now. Is Jeff Ward getting tired? What about bikes that come up in the intervals? Jeff will get him first, and then Burkhardt will get him. And as you said earlier, part of the problem when you're closing on somebody, they expect maybe the first bike. They don't always expect the second. Burkhardt continues to close in. Henry is still third.
And the advantage on the passing lap traffic will be to Burkhardt because Wardy lets him know they're there. And then like Gary Tracy right there, he moved over and let Wardy by, but he stayed all the way over and let Burkhardt come flying through with 5 to go.
So is there enough time for Burkhardt to get in there, get alongside Jeff Ward, and can he get past him? There's the key.
You don't just slip by a guy who has all the experience in the world. I mean, Jeff Ward has been riding motorcycles since he was a little kid. And just, I mean, with the 8 championships, that pretty much tells you the guy's got the gusto to do whatever it is. And I don't think this is going to be, if Burkhardt can catch him, this would be any kind of easy pass.
Well, let's think about some possibilities, too. If the two of them get locked in an absolute battle and then one of them makes a mistake and takes them both out, hands everything over to Doug Henry, who is currently the bronze medalist, and last year, remember, was the gold medalist. So with 5 to go, there is so much that can happen.
Well, the one thing we got to remember is Ward, he was kind of hating on McGrath a little bit for slipping up, and I think Ward is a guy who's very cerebral and will keep it very smart. Maybe the youngster Burkhardt will go for a do-or-die pass. That would be the scenario, and you know what? If he can get close enough as these laps wind down, he will go for the pass. And I have a feeling, with some Supercross background in his history there for Burkhardt, he is thinking, if I get close enough, I can make the move. If I have to bump, I'll bump the pass.
They continue to work their way through lap traffic. Coming around to the New Zealander, Darrell Atkins now. And look at there on that straightaway, there is no question Burkhardt has him definitely in his vision. The other thing, too, is when you're talking Ward, you're talking so much experience. Could Ward pull him into a bad move?
Well, he definitely could, some kind of setup, but here's